Well, hello out there in podcast land, and welcome back to another episode of Guilty Pleasures, the show where we celebrate the movies we love, despite what critics, public opinion, or even our own God-given sense might tell us. I am your host, Lou Hare, for the Front Row Network, and welcome to our June episode, kind of in time for Father's Day, a day or two behind, you know, like any Father's Day gift, it's delivered late, but with love. So we have picked out, well, you've picked out actually, this was the winner of a Twitter poll that we did last month honoring the cast of Cheers, and you picked Ted Danson to be your representative and his film franchise, Three Men and a Baby, and Three Men and a Little Lady. And we're going to cover both movies tonight for you. But first, let me introduce my esteemed guests, both favorites here at Guilty Pleasures and in the front row. That delightful laughter that you hear is the laughter of Mr. Patrick Tierney. Welcome back, Pat. How are you?
Oh, I'm splendid. I'm sorry. You're funny, Lou. You're a comedian.
Yes.
Thank you. And that other voice, if you hear, is another returning favorite for the front row. Please welcome back Miss Tiffany Topol. How are you, Tiff?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
So we want to get our plugs up right off the top, mostly so I don't forget them at the end of the show. But I wanted to start with you, Tiffany, because for those of you, if you're not following Tiffany on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, she's got a couple of really cool things going on. And I thought I'd give you the opportunity right up front, Tiff, to tell us what exactly you're up to.
Sure. Well, I just closed Once the Musical out in Aurora, Illinois. And so now I'm back in New York, and I work as a custom songwriter, which means if you have a family member or a loved one you want to give a gift to, that's not just like an iPad, I can write a song. Just tell me all of your people's thoughts and feelings and lovey-dovey stuff, and I turn it into a song. And I'm also in a band, and we're called Youth in a Roman Field, and if you're in New York, we're playing a show at Mercury Lounge on Monday the 25th. You should come.
Excellent.
Oh, and my website is tiffanytopol.com, and it's just a rabbit hole of curiosities. You should go to my website.
Excellent. Yes. And Pat, you just closed a show, and we just discussed this offline. Are you coming on Guilty Pleasures to announce your retirement?
Not yet. I'm going to give it till the end of the year.
Okay.
No. Nothing coming up as of yet, but I just closed a production of that Rodgers and Hammerstein classic, South Pacific, which, if you've never seen it, may I suggest the TV movie version starring Glenn Close as Nellie Forbush.
Oh my God.
Bold.
And the reason I recommend it is because I think it would maybe make you chuckle a lot. So that would actually be an excellent thing to do on here. Not that you would ever do. Have you done any movie musicals? We
did Grease 2.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, which you can find in our archives. We're going to go back and there are some. Oh, there's a lot of musicals. We will get back to a musical, I think, at some point.
Sure.
Yeah, we did. That was our second episode, so we will.
That's what I thought.
Yes, we'll revisit that.
Yes. So just close that show out in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I'm, just enjoying this Chicago summer.
Delightful. All right. So before we get up talking about this movie, let me give you a hint or an update as to what we're doing for July's episode. We actually, we're doing another poll, but this time we have moved it off of Twitter, and we're going to try Facebook this time. We're going to see what our response. So if you go to our Facebook page, The Front Row Network, The poll is up now. I put it up this morning. So as you're listening to this, unless you waited like a year to binge listen to this show or whatever, it won't be up then. But from now through June 25th, you will be able to vote on our July episode. And the theme this month is summer blockbusters. We're right in the middle of summer blockbuster season. So we have picked 2 summer blockbusters for us to talk about, both that have significant anniversaries this year. The first, celebrating its 20th anniversary, 1998's Godzilla, starring Matthew Broderick. I have not seen this movie since I saw it in the theater. I look forward to revisiting it if it wins the poll. We'll find out how much Jurassic World ripped it off. Pretty much. When we talk about it.
Godzilla, was it Puff Daddy?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Puff Daddy featuring Jimmy Page.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yep.
A beautiful theme song, an elegant theme, if you will. And yes, we will talk about that if it wins the poll. But it's going up against some stiff competition. A movie weirdly celebrating its 10th anniversary already. 2008's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, yes.
Yes. That movie's 10 years old already. That's crazy.
Wow.
And
Crazy.
I will say, I think if it wins, it could be the most contentious episode we'll ever do, or at least up to this point, because everybody's got an opinion about this movie. We're going to dive into it, talk about its reputation, and if it's deserved, if it wins the poll. So there you go. Those are your choices. Godzilla, Indiana Jones, and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Go to Facebook right now. But while you're going to Facebook, keep listening, because we're about to get into our June episode here, as we mentioned, 3 Men and a Baby. Let's start with the original, the OG. Let's go with the plot of 3 Men and a Baby.
Yes.
When a newborn baby is left on the doorsteps of 3 New York City bachelors, the men's lives are changed in unexpected, hilarious, and touching ways.
Wow, where did you get that?
That from my dome right here.
Wow. Okay. Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
You can write an elevator pitch.
I can. I missed my calling by about 3 decades, because I could have sold so many sitcoms and movies in 1987.
You really? I thought you lifted that from somewhere else. I'm impressed.
Here's the thing. We take Bruce Willis and we give him robot feet.
I'm sold.
Right.
Yes.
Bruce Willis stars in Robot Feet. But,
So
the cast of this movie involves it's a trifecta. Of course, we mentioned Ted Danson, fresh, in the midst of Cheers. He is joined by Magnum PI himself, Tom Selleck, and Steve Guttenberg. So you are getting some heavy late 80s hitters in this. And then you have
Dreamboats.
Yeah, very. Oh, so okay. Let me ask you this question, because I've got it down in the notes. We're going to talk about it. How old do you think Tom Selleck is in this movie?
Oh, that's a very good.
I mean, my gut says 40.
40 what?
2.
My gut says 44.
He is 33.
No! Okay.
That's not fair. Oh God, I feel terrible. I'm sorry, Tom, if you're listening.
That's.
We're that age.
Yes. Yeah, I am 5 years older.
No way.
Wow, he is 33.
Yes. And
I think back then everyone looked older.
They did.
I think it's is it mustaches? Like beards don't age you, I think, as much as just like a singular mustache. Am I wrong on this?
It's the mustache combined with that weird 80s dad helmet that they all had. Like when you looked at the back of them all standing, especially Steve Guttenberg and Tom Selleck, it was just like They just all looks like my dad. Like he had that too. Coming down a little down the neck.
Just a touch. That's not like full mullet.
No.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just toeing the line. It's just
I feel really bad that I said 44. I should have gone with 38. Not that that's a little bit better. That was my other gut, 38.
Well, but no, I think you're right, Tip, because I felt the same way. Because Donna and I were watching this and we're like, how old is Tom Selleck in this movie? Because this movie's 30 years old. And I'm like, he looks like he's 40 in this. So that means he's in his 70s now. And
no, I guess he's only, wow.
That can't be right. And it's just, I don't know also if it's just one of those things that because like he always just looks like a 40-year-old man.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Like, and so if you go
he
even
always
back
has.
like 5 years of peak Magnum PI, he's in his 20s in that, which is just that shit.
No.
Nope.
So
still a handsome fellow, but
absolutely.
It's so funny. Steve and I were watching this movie together, and in the scene when he's like on his rowing machine,
yes,
shirtless,
short shorts.
I remember watching this when I was a kid for the first time and thinking that was the pinnacle of manliness, was Tom Selleck in Three Men and a Baby on a rowing machine.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
I remember just thinking like, oh, they have all these like chicks coming in and out. He's got a rowing machine, mustache.
Yeah.
Hair.
Yeah. Very much. Yeah. So let's talk about why. So why are we talking about this movie on Guilty Pleasures? And this is a weird one because the IMDb score for this is lower than a lot of the movies we've done, or especially some of the more recent ones we've done. Its IMDb score is 5.9.
Okay.
Its Rotten Tomato score is pretty decent. It's 74%. So it's more positive than not. But this is one of those movies that I think has just a weird reputation.
Yeah.
That people kind of reference when they talk about like cheesy 80s premises. But what's interesting about this movie, if you didn't know, this is the highest grossing movie of 1987.
I believe it.
This movie made
a sequel, so
right.
Yeah.
It made a sequel. So this movie made $167 million off of an $11 million budget. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but adjusted, that is in 2018 dollars. That's $382 million.
I mean, it did have. I mean, Tom Selleck and Ted Danson at the time were like two of the biggest stars. So it makes sense, right?
Yeah. It makes total sense, but it's just interesting because it was such a monster hit, and yet I don't know if you want to say it's either forgotten about or kind of like jokingly referred to, but I don't know if it's if it has its due as a movie.
I mean, the title alone is enough to just say it, and it sounds like it's just made to be made fun of. Like,
yeah,
right.
Even just throwing out three men and a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And a baby. Yeah, like what do you? I mean, they spell it out for you in the title.
Yeah, it tells you everything you need to know. Well,
and your elevator pitch, like it sounds just awful. But I was surprised because I thought it was going to be worse.
No. No, I am a fan.
I really enjoyed it.
I did too, and I'm kind of shocked by it. So So Tip, how long had it been since you had seen this movie?
Probably since I was in the single digits. I'm talking
wow.
like 7. Probably, yeah. But it was one that I definitely remember watching, and with my dad. It's one of those movies. Of course, my dad just thinks it's hilarious.
Oh,
right.
Same. My dad loves this movie.
Loves it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
Good. And how about you, Pat? I mean, you've seen it more recently.
Yeah. I mean, like. I checked in with it again, but like a couple days ago. But like before that, I don't know. It probably only been a couple years. Like, I feel like it's like on TV sometimes. Like, I don't know I guess I couldn't tell you the last time I sat down and watched it from like beginning to end. But like, I feel like I've seen at least part of it like every couple years since I was 7 years old, because it's like my dad in 1987 was 32 years old. So like it was like prime dad, young dad movie.
He basically was Tom Selleck, right?
He was, and my dad had a mustache. He has a mustache. He is Tom Selleck. So I know it because it was like a Tierney family favorite, because our patriarch, like, just anytime it was on, like, you know, he had the remote most of the time and we watched it, but gladly, might I add.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe explains a little bit about why this movie is so popular, because it was a movie. I mean, it's a family movie, but it's not a kids movie. It's like a movie that you can watch with your parents, or your parents would watch, and they're like, "Oh, it's Magnum PI and
Yes.
Sam Malone. We'll watch that." And then then the baby pees and everybody laughs.
Right. And it was surprisingly stressful to watch. I didn't remember this whole drug subplot, or not subplot. It was the plot.
It was the plot.
Act of the movie or more. And then it was just like, oh, great, that was solved. And then
Yes. Watching both of these movies, I feel like it's watching like the entire run of a sitcom condensed into like 3 hours.
It is. That's so true.
It's such a sitcom premise, and then the plot twist. There's this, like you said, there's the random heroine subplot, which we'll get to.
Random.
Then the girl shows up to take her away, and then they don't. And then you go to the sequel, and it's like, well, we're a hit. Let's go to London, and the whole thing ends in a wedding. It's like every like sitcom.
Spoiler, I haven't watched it. It's fine.
No, it's so like, satisfying.
Hey, I didn't say who got married.
That's true.
Oh, we can't talk about it?
We can talk about it. It's really fine.
I bet you could guess. I bet you could guess who gets married.
I bet it's Ted Danson. No. Is it?
Nope, nobody tell her.
Nobody tell her.
No.
You're not going to say.
Spoiler alert, it's actually Steve Guttenberg and Tom Selleck.
Oh.
It's very progressive.
Very progressive for 1990.
Well, they showed so much promise at the beginning of 3 Men and a Baby as a couple working together, you know, while Jack was in Turkey.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Good point.
I do.
I would write that spinoff.
That's for the reboot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
was there a sitcom? Was there like a sitcom? Sorry.
I'm glad you brought it up. No, you mentioned the sitcom, and you are correct in a sense, because 1987. So everybody talks about, you know, how in the mid 90s there were competing asteroid movies, and then there were 2 competing volcano movies. Okay, so this movie comes out in November of 1987. 2 months prior, in September, on TV, we get the debut of Full House.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's something Steve and I both talked about and Googled, because they have the scene in which they are singing to the men. And Steve was like, was this before or after Full House? Like, wow. So it's really weird that they both had that, and who came first.
Well, exactly. Well, and that's the other thing, because I think there is like, it's one of the many urban legends about this movie, and we'll get to the other one in a minute, is that like, this one was such a hit that they did Full House, or vice versa. And it's like, no, they're like going on at the same time, like literally within this. Right. And as if that wasn't enough, also debuting in September of 1987 was My Two Dads.
I knew you were going to say that. I thought, yes.
Which it's the lesser known of the 3. But so for our younger listeners, it was a sitcom starring Paul Reiser. And it was basically about 2 bachelors who have this time it's a teenager show up at their doorstep, and one of them is possibly the father, and they never reveal which one is the father. And so it's basically the same plot, but with a teenage girl as opposed to a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so weird to think that like in Hollywood at the same time, all of these ideas are like being greenlit and funded, and just everybody, and all three of them were hits at the time, which is the other thing, is that people just couldn't get enough of the concept of grown men learning how to become parents.
Maybe Hollywood is just priming America for gays.
Maybe.
That's where
like, let's give them an amuse-bouche of men in non-traditional roles working together, and then in the 90s
we'll give him the gays.
Give them the gays. I'm serious, maybe. I don't know.
I'm gay, so I can say that.
It's
Well,
the other thing too, because they don't like, all three of those kind of dance around that idea, and by the time they get to by the time we get to Three Men and a Little Lady, like they just straight up get asked, "Are you guys gay?"
Oh, okay.
mm-hmm.
And they're like, and refreshingly, they don't like get, oh, gross. They don't get like grossed out by it. They just kind of scoff it off. They're like, no, we're not. And so that's the other interesting thing, because I was expecting when I went back to watch these movies, I hadn't seen them. It had to have been 15 years at least since I've seen either one. And I was expecting this to have like some 80s stink on it, in terms of not aging well or having some really like problematic areas.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually, it weirdly doesn't.
It doesn't.
Except
for the hair. Well, right. But I mean, that's right. But the funny thing about it is I forgot that it was heroin. I just assumed because it was the 80s that it was cocaine.
Oh.
I was like, oh, there's a cocaine subplot in it. And then I'm like, because we're watching the party scene in the beginning, and Donna goes, how much cocaine was at this party? And I'm like, oh, just wait. And I say that really smugly, like I know what's coming. And then I get I name the wrong drug.
How dare you, Lou?
How dare I?
How dare you?
I need to know my shit.
You do.
So, okay. So yeah, and I think that's the other reason why that this movie maybe has a weird reputation, in that, Full House, and My Two Dads are kind of these sitcom-y premises, and this is kind of the movie version of that they're all kind of like lumped in together, but they all did pretty well. Full House runs for 8 years. My Two Dads has a decent run, and this is a big hit. So let's start with, because we mentioned that party scene. Let's just start at the beginning of the movie, because I have several questions.
I have a question right after that, actually, that came in the credits.
Yes. Oh.
So did not know. It was like the source material was like based on Trois Hommes et un Couffin, which is, I was like, oh, it's based on like an old restoration comedy. No, no, it's just based off a French movie from 1985, from like 2 years before, which translates to Three Men in a Cradle. Lou, have you seen this?
I have not seen Three Men in a Cradle.
I want to watch it.
Okay. I think we need to find Three Men in a Cradle.
Yes.
We'll come back. I
like that title.
Yeah.
Three Men in a Cradle.
Of course, it's classier, which makes it French.
Yes.
But yeah. So yeah, you're right. This is a remake. It's a French remake of a 1985 movie. And who do you get when you need to revamp and make a French comedy palatable to an American audience? Who is the first name that comes to mind?
Leonard Nimoy.
100%. Yeah.
That was the other thing. I was like, Leonard Nimoy?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Leonard Nimoy directs this movie. This is one of the few film directing credits he has. Yeah. He actually.
What are his others?
He directed two of the Star Trek films. I believe he directed 4 and 5, and 4 I think was what got him this one, because 4 was like a huge hit. And it was very funny. It was one of the funny. It's known as like the funny Star Trek movie. And so they were like, "Oh well, we'll give him this." And he did really well with it. And he doesn't really. This outside of Star Trek is pretty much his other biggest movie. He actually doesn't come back for the sequel because he chose to direct a Gene Wilder movie called Funny About Love. That was a pretty big failure. So he later regretted that. So yeah, there are some weird names attached to this because it's directed by Leonard Nimoy. It's remade off of a French film with a score by Marvin Hamlish.
Wait, really?
Yes.
I did not. I was distracted by all of the Gloria Estefan Miami Sound Machine songs.
The highlight.
You know a movie is rolling deep when you've got 2 Miami Sound Machine songs on the soundtrack.
Yes.
In the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was the other thing too, is that this movie just feels so like distilled 80s in that sense. Because even the logo, the fonts that they use right at the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, that is the most glorious 80s font I've ever seen. And here you got Bad Boys playing.
It's been in my
head. What a tune.
Oh, it's great. If you haven't seen the video on YouTube, do yourself a favor and watch that. It'll be the best 2 minutes of your day, outside of listening to this podcast, of course.
Yeah, well, yes.
But yeah, so while we're hearing that song play, we're watching Steve Guttenberg's character, and he is painting. He is a cartoonist by trade, and he is painting this giant cartoon mural in their entryway. And I have so many questions.
It's very Hirschfeldian in style.
Oh,
very Al Hirschfeld type drawings, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. I didn't even think about that. Nice, nice.
Good. Excellent pull, Tiffany.
That was the first thing I thought. But what are your questions?
So these are 3 bachelors that we are led to believe in the film are very, they are quite the ladies' men.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reaction to a lady who comes up in an elevator and the first thing they see is just this wall-to-wall cartoon mural of the 3 men?
If it were me, I'd say, oh, this is very Hirschfeldian.
Oh.
Yeah, it's it seems a little out of but Steve Guttenberg does seem to be sort of the more sensitive one.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they're such good friends that they respect his art and they just let him do what he wants, Again,
very progressive.
Yes.
They've basically given him his own art space.
And they're all artists. Tom Selleck is an artist.
They are.
They're all artists.
Yeah.
So.
They absolutely yes. Damn it! Why didn't I think of that? Damn it!
And so then I assume that the women that they're bringing home are artists as well, or at least art fuckers.
Yeah.
So the reaction then, when you walk in and you just see this giant cartoon mural, is, oh, it's panty dropping time.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather see that than walk in and see Mets posters on the wall.
Okay.
You would.
Or neon bar signs, or they saved all of their empty beer bottles and lined them up. I'd much rather see
That's a good point.
Mural.
I'm not going to tell you which one.
Pastel colors.
2 of the 3 things you described were in my college house.
Exactly.
Yes, they were. I know.
I mean, they have the space for it,
They do, and that's the other thing, is this loft is huge.
Oh Mike, I wanted to live in it as a child.
I want to live in it now. Steve and I looked it up online because we found it.
Oh, where is it?
It's in Manhattan. It is $48 million.
Wow.
Wait, how much is it?
It's $48 million, that penthouse.
Wow.
48 million.
48 million. I'll have to find it again and send it to you guys. It's all redone now. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so like that really again, we're peeling back. I didn't think this is where this was gonna go, but I love that because Peter then, Tom Selleck's character, not only is he like just straight balling as an architect, he's very generous because they make a point to mention how Jack as an actor is kind of like not doing great. He does some commercials here and there.
So he's in Turkey.
We can
But his
assume,
part gets cut, so it couldn't have been that big.
right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, his part. Yeah, he gets a movie, but his part gets cut. And in the beginning, he's like begging people to be in their commercials. And so then you've got Steve Guttenberg's character, and of course, his is the one whose name I keep forgetting. He's a cartoonist, so he's not making a lot of money, and yet so Peter's just like, "Hey guys, come live with me. It's cool. I've got this multi-million-dollar loft that we'll just share, and I'll give you your art space. You can work over there. We have room for Jack, your cutout figures of yourself."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can find room for that. So okay. So, and that was just the only thing that the entranceway was interesting to me because I just thought about that and I was like, is that a turn on for a woman if a woman like were to walk in to see that? Like, is that just not like a giant cartoon red flag? But
you could go either way. I think I don't know. I could see being charmed. I could see being like these guys. I don't know.
The guy, Steve Guttenberg's character, drew like a very popular comic strip. So it would be like whoever draws Family Circus or whatever.
Because they know him. What is his name of the cat? The cool
Johnny Cool.
Johnny Cool. Right.
I personally find it very cool. I also literally date an illustrator, so that's.
I was just gonna say you do. He's kind of like Steve Guttenberg.
He is actually.
Yes.
Wait.
Ron Cat.
Are you dating Steve Guttenberg? Yes or no?
Yes, I am.
I mean, 1987 Steve Guttenberg was not something to shy away from. Let me tell you.
I mean, no, he was approachably attractive.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, sure. Like if you were at a bar and you saw these three guys,
absolutely.
You'd walk to Guttenberg first, right? I mean,
I would date Steve Guttenberg. It would be like, I don't know, Topher Grace.
Oh, now, yeah. Like who is he? Who is that these days? Sure.
Ooh, especially career-wise, that's
actually, yeah, that's very similar.
I just watched Win a Date with Tad Hamilton for the first time 2 nights ago, so Topher Grace is on the brain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, and I love like the other thing too is this movie again, there's this like blend of 80s just stuff going on because I had to Google and find out whether or not Johnny Cool was inspired by Chester Cheetah or the other way around.
And
also, sorry, go on.
It's actually a wash. Chester Cheetah came out before Johnny Cool. There's no notes. I couldn't find anything that Johnny Cool was inspired by. Guessing it probably was, or the fact that like Garfield was so popular at the time that like, oh, if he's a cartoonist in the 80s, he must know how to draw a cool cat.
Now, I bet, however, that had to have definitely inspired MC Scat Cat.
I thought that too.
Oh yeah, no, I could see that, and and he also looks like one of the cool cats from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yes.
Oh,
That character's name is Cool Cat, isn't it? Cool Cat and Diggity Dog. The two like
I think they all there's no way
puppet.
that they don't connect somehow. Like when this movie, they were like, "What's a thing that would be drawn
Like
in
that.
1987?" They were inspired, right? Come on.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the other thing too, is because there's so much like going on in like that late 80s that like bleeds into each other. Like we'd mentioned there are three different concepts being executed. Like there's two sitcoms in a movie, basically that's the same plot. This is also the late 80s where we had like three body swapping movies. Like actually 3 or 4 body swapping movies. We had like Crocodile Dundee and Coming to America, which are movie. It's like all of these. It's like everybody's just like recycling the same shit for like 4 years until the 90s roll around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we learn about Steve Guttenberg's character. He's the sensitive one. Tom Selleck is the stable one, and then Ted Danson is clearly the bad boy.
Yes.
Of the group, because he is the one that fathers the baby in question. It's his, and I gotta say, like one of my things that I loved about this movie was going back and watching Ted Danson and just see that he literally like walks off the set of Cheers and does this. Because the line readings are the same. He's just full Sam Malone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first thing too. I was like, oh, he's just doing. Yeah.
Right. He's giving the people what they want.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I'm not trying to dog Ted Danson because I love Cheers. But it's so funny that but then he's like the guy who creates the baby, but also is of the three, oddly, the one that has like the least amount to do in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I mean, that could have been because of his. I don't know. I was gonna say that could be because of his schedule. I don't know. No, they just wrote it that way. I don't know.
For the first part of the movie, Steve kept going like, "This is 2 men. This is not."
You're right.
Yeah.
It
really is. It's 2 men you're right. It's 2 men and a baby. Really, it's good. Yeah. It's like it's funny that Guttenberg's doing the heavy lifting here.
And what
heavy lifting?
What do we know? Because I do not. Do we know if there were any actors that were offered this movie before these three?
Oh, we do.
Oh, I love that. Please.
Okay. So, according to Steve Guttenberg's autobiography, which I didn't know until now existed, and I not only love it, but I love the title. It's called The Gutenberg Bible.
I'm purchasing it immediately after this podcast.
Me too. I want it on my coffee table.
Yep. So here are some of the people that were considered for the role of Jack, which is Ted Danson's role. And you're going to notice a theme here right off the bat because you have 2 other sitcom stars. Tony Danza.
Oh, absolutely.
And Michael J. Fox.
Young.
Oh.
That's really young. There's
young. That's like Alex P. Keaton time.
Yeah. Like this is like between Back to the Futures 1 and 2. He's not like this is like So anyway, and then apparently other people that were considered for the role of Jack. This is a hodgepodge, but I think this is the film actor part. Kevin Kline, Bill Pullman, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid.
Okay.
Jeff Daniels. And then the 2 that made me chuckle the most, Danny Glover.
Hey.
And Gary Oldman.
Oh, they considered all of these men just for the role, Ted Danson's role.
Just for the role of
Like it was like the feature, like that's like
Right.
okay.
And so then these were the people considered for the role of Michael, which is Steve Guttenberg's role. Tom Hanks
Ooh,
makes a ton of sense. This next one
Yes.
also makes a ton of sense. Michael Keaton,
absolutely.
Bruce Willis,
Yep.
and this is pre-Die Hard Bruce Willis, and so it's like okay, that fits. And John Travolta.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is ironic because 2 years later he's going to do Look Who's Talking. So
Great film.
Yeah. Great.
And Look Who's Talking to, and Look Who's Talking. But anyway.
Yeah. I love
And
all
then-
three.
And then for the role of Peter, which is the role that goes to Tom Selleck. Now we're getting weird. Chevy Chase,
Mm.
Bill Murray,
Mm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
No. Nope.
Jack Nicholson.
But then he did Kindergarten Cop again. Similar.
Oh.
Right. Again, eventually everyone works with kids.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. That would have been weird.
Yeah.
Steve Martin.
No.
Okay.
I could.
Sure. You know.
Yeah.
And Paul Hogan.
Who's Paul Hogan?
Crocodile Dundee.
Yes.
That's what I thought. That would be weird. Dude, that'd be weird because he can be Crocodile Dundee. He can't do anything else.
So, okay, yeah, so you're right. So ultimately, this is where we land. We land with Ted Danson, Tom Selleck, and Steve Guttenberg. But yeah, there's some weird world where it's Tony Danza, Michael Keaton, and Chevy Chase.
I
Doesn't
mean,
roll off the tongue quite as
No.
yeah, I'd still watch it. But I love all three of those men, especially during the time. Because when it was like Chevy Chase was like prime vacation movies.
This is late 80s, so this is post Spies Like Us, pre-Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
So he had
One was Fletch.
Fletch was 85. So yeah, he'd still have some cachet.
He does, yeah.
He wasn't punchline Chevy Chase yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Was he still kind of considered to be like Caddyshack, Chevy Chase?
Yeah, we're in dad mode Chevy Chase at this point.
Yeah.
I think he's no longer like suave leading man Chase. We've moved on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay. So that's who we do get, and so we get Ted Danson's character. And he is the one who brings in, you mentioned it earlier, Tiff, so let's talk about it, the heroin subplot. Because this is 80s sitcom farce at its finest, where it's like, hey, a package is being dropped off, and everyone assumes it's a baby. When the baby shows up, no, it's actually heroin.
I mean, so stressful. I get really stressed out about like terrible things. Like I couldn't watch Orange Is the New Black. Like after when it started with that whole screwdriver. Did you guys watch that show?
Mm-mm.
Anyway, there's like this screwdriver that nobody's supposed to have, and it's like being hidden. I had to stop because that's stressing me out so much. So anything like that, that dressed me out, and I was like, I wasn't prepared to be stressed in this movie. I was prepared to watch Steve Guttenberg try and change a diaper.
Well, this movie is multifaceted. It's going to give you both.
Yeah.
In Orange Is the Black, in Orange Is the New Black, do they learn how to care for an infant?
I mean, Steve, he does some. I remember thinking that heroin hiding was very meticulous and thorough. I thought that as a 12-year-old.
Like, oh yeah, if there was a place I was going to hide heroin, baby's diaper makes the most sense.
And with an X-Acto knife, because he's an artist. All artists.
I was just gonna say the X-Acto knife. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's pretty smart. They're smart men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funny too because it's like it. You're right when Tiffany when you said it. Like it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
No,
and it wraps up so easily.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't. Like that, like he was, I don't know. It's just like, he's like, this is the guy who did it. See ya.
Okay.
Here's everything.
Freeze frame, roll credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it is funny because they bring in this, they do make you feel like that's almost like the main plot of the movie. It's like they didn't trust that the concept 3 Men and a Baby would carry a whole film, weirdly.
Right.
So they're like, well, what do we need to do to like jazz it up a little?
High stakes. I mean, those are some pretty high fucking stakes. I will give them that.
They are.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know.
they're high stakes that are solved in just the most low-key way possible. That's like, hey, meet us here. Okay, hey, there are cops. Take them away.
Right. Even though they were hiding heroin from the cops and lying to the detective. So like, wouldn't they still be like involved? And like, I feel like again, it was wrapped up too neatly, and I had so many questions after they just.
Right. Like if I'm the cop, I'm like, you could have just told me right off the bat that these people were here, or given me some names, and with like just a cursory background check, I probably could have figured out that the two men in the multi-million-dollar high-rise with no criminal records is probably okay.
But I guess they were trying to protect Jack because they were, because he was the one who got the package of heroin, so they didn't really know what was going on with him.
Right. They don't know if is it his heroin, or is it
whose heroin was it, and why did he have it? I actually did not. I missed it.
Okay, it happens in the party scene where Jack's like commercial director says, "Hey, can I have a package delivered to your house?" And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Some people are gonna come by and pick it up." And I guess because Jack's like a desperate actor, he's like not gonna question some mysterious package, and nor is he gonna think to ask, "Hey, what is the package? Like, why is it? Why do you have to have it?" And none of these questions get asked.
Actors.
Yeah, exactly. He just,
they'll do anything. Right, like they'll do anything.
Right. Well, if you had told him it was drugs, he'd have just used them probably, because how actors are.
Hello.
Don't tell an actor where your stash is, folks. That's the lesson here.
They'll just complain. There's not enough.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So yeah, and so it gets wrapped up really quickly, and so we still have like 20 minutes of movie left.
Yes.
And so they're like, okay, should we bring the mom in at some point?
And you should.
Because what we learn earlier in the film is that Sylvia, the mother, has just abandoned Mary, the baby, on the doorstep of our three heroes, and Ted Danson's not there for this. So we get Selleck and Guttenberg learning hilariously how to do things like change a diaper and feed it and get it to stop crying while fending off heroin dealers. But then eventually they all figure it out just in time for the mom to come back. So let's talk Sylvia.
Please. Nancy Travis, my heart.
4 words that have never been spoken in that sequence. No disrespect to Nancy Travis. I enjoy Nancy Travis.
I really do. I legitimately like Nancy Travis.
British, or was that an accent?
No, she's not. And I thought she was British until 2005.
I didn't think she was British based on her accent in this movie.
No, I thought 8-year-old Patrick thought her accent was flawless.
It was not.
Well, no, and that was confused. I didn't even know that myself because I love So I Married an Axe Murderer, and she's got an English accent, or she's got an American accent, and that. So I was like, well, or is she Like, is she a British actress doing an American accent or vice versa? So I'm glad we solved that. But so she shows up, and what do we think of Sylvia?
I think that she's just, well, she's like me. She's a young actress who has her career, and she's all over the place. And oh God, she's awful. She's, you know, just like me.
Just like
She's
you,
like you.
but with a
I'd probably
baby.
be on the doorstep of a $48 million penthouse too, just so I could go on some auditions. That's what she did. She like left it there, probably because she was like, I have like callbacks for, you know, like
Speed the Plow or something.
or yeah, exactly, Speed the Plow in the West End.
Mhm.
So I gotta go. Like like David Mamet, like director sessions. Like I have to be there.
Right.
You don't want, you know, instead of just being like, can you watch my baby for a little while? She was just like,
I'm in New York anyway. Here you go.
Yeah.
right. And then she just like comes back and she's like, okay, cool, I'm okay now, but I'm not.
Right. But I'm gonna take the baby. Thanks for watching her.
Right.
Sorry if you got attached.
Like it's so sad.
I mean, it's sad, and I've never been a mother, but I do think that is, you know, I would probably go every other day being like, I don't want this baby, and then like, please let me have my baby back. I would, you know, so I get it. Like, and then on top of it, she's an actress, so like,
Unstable.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's she's an odd character because you're right. She's just like this wash of extremes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, she's like, well, I couldn't take the stress of I had to go out on all these auditions, so I'm going to abandon the child. But now I think I've got it under control, so I'm going to take it back, but I'm going to go all the way to London. And then I'm not going to go to London because these three guys, two of whom I've never met, one of whom knocked me up, I'm going to live with them now and let them... The four of us will raise our child as opposed to my family.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd.
An apartment and was like, yeah, I'm going to go. And then like on her way, she was like, that apartment is amazing. Like,
That's
maybe
exactly
if I go
what
there and
happened.
cry, they'll ask me to live there.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes, so you're positing that she's more influenced by the apartment than she is by the men.
Well, I think it
yeah.
represents the whole thing, and I'm not saying that like she was just like sick apartment. I'm gonna go back and cry, but like you see someone, and you're like, oh fuck, they clearly love this child. If I just go back and like wah a little, they'll.
I mean, she should be living sweet.
Yes.
And she's probably like, wow, these other two guys are even more attractive than Ted Danson. Like, I have it made.
Mm-hmm. And the one guy's an architect. He seems pretty stable.
Exactly. Spoiler.
So,
oh, she marries. Does she marry Tom Selleck? I'm going to watch it tonight. I just don't
You
have
should.
you
Because you know what's her face.
Robin.
Yeah.
Weissman.
The little lady.
Okay, so we're here. Let's go ahead and segue over then to 3 Men and a Little Lady and pick up. Yeah. So yeah, you, Tiffany, you actually mentioned you have met the little lady herself. You are friends with Robin Weissman, and you've mentioned you've never spoken about this, correct?
Not really. So I think the first time I met her, actually, I know her brother a little better. But he was in the hospital, and so we were all like in the hospital, just like he was having surgery done. And so we were all hanging out, like me and Robin and her parents. And the only time I think it's ever been mentioned is that her dad leaned over and went, "Hey, Robin, look, you're a meme." And it was a picture of her from 3 Men and a Little Lady, and someone had put a meme on it. And I was like, wait a minute, you were, and he was like, yeah.
Wow.
But then, like, we've hung out a couple times since, and like we just went shopping for bathing suits at Target, and I wasn't going to be like, so Tom Selleck. You know?
What a crock.
What a crock, indeed.
But she's lovely. She lives in Florida, and so when I was down there on tour, we hung out.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
amazing.
And she shared a love for Ariana Grande and Justin Timberlake.
Celebrities are just like us.
You're just like that.
Yeah. Well, and she's great in the movie. She's great in 3 Men and a Little Lady. Yeah, she's, you know, she ends up taking a bit of a backseat to the three main characters, but I mean, you're basing your sequel off these 3 stars, and I get that to a certain degree. But she's great. She's very charming in the movie. So it comes out 3 years later. 3 Men and a Baby is such a hit. Of course, they're going to do a sequel, and so we mention Leonard Nimoy steps away from the director's chair. He hands it over to Emile Ardolino, who is the director of a couple of staples of that era as well, Dirty Dancing and Sister Act.
Oh my goodness! No, wow.
Yeah, so he's quite the chops. So the plot of this one is, when Mary's mother gets engaged and plans to move the two to London, our 3 bachelors must stop the wedding to save their family. And that's pretty much it. And what's interesting is that the plot, it's a very simple plot, and it takes half of the movie to get going.
Yeah.
Where they're just, the first half is basically about them trying to get Mary into like boarding school or some sort of good school. And then eventually they decided, maybe we should have a plot to this thing. And so the plot is basically like Sylvia just one day saying, hey, I'm getting married and I'm moving back to London with this douchebag. Yeah.
Her
director who he could have had smarmy British douchebag on his forehead and had been less obvious than he is in this movie, which again leads to Sylvia just not being the greatest judge of character.
No, but she just wanted to, she thought it meant a better life for her child.
She did. Even though it means going to London and leaving the 3 guys that raised her and marrying some guy who she can't really see as this douchey guy, I guess. And then of course we get, sorry, Tiff, I'm going to spoil this for you. We get we see little glimpses in the first half where apparently Sylvia and Peter have been flirting for a while, and we kind of know that Peter's got a thing for Sylvia. And it seems to be mutual, but neither one of them is willing to say anything about it. But eventually they decide they need to go to London to stop the wedding. So we're heading to London, folks.
Which is magical.
Yes. And this is where we see, I guess I should, before we move on, I should mention 3 Men and a Little Lady. It is the 15th highest grossing movie of 1990. It makes about half of what the original makes. It makes $72 million.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, little diminishing returns, and its Rotten Tomatoes score. The previous movie had 74%. This one has 29%.
Okay. See, I think that is bullshit, because that's bullshit. I think it's a delightful sequel, but continue.
Okay. The IMDb score is a little closer. It's 5.3 as opposed to 5.9. So it's within the same parameters. It's not awful. But yeah, it's definitely, I think it has, just the reputation of this is just kind of a cash grab sequel. We made a lot of money. Let's just do this and get it out there as quickly as we can so we can make some more money.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pat, do you feel like it's a better movie than the first one?
I mean, no, better. Here's the thing. Like, when I think of this sequel, like, I start to think about like Home Alone 2, Wayne's World 2, like sequels that Back to the Future 2, sequels that I would never tell anyone I secretly maybe prefer more, but like secretly I do. What?
I said you prefer all of those more?
I mean, I do and I don't. Does that make sense? Like secretly I'm like I think I want to see those sequels more, but I don't want to tell anyone because literally everyone would be like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Right.
What?
Back to the Future 2 is great. I get that.
It's great. But anyway, we don't have to go into all that because those are different movies. But because there are plenty of hideous sequels out there, but I just find this one really satisfying. I don't know. I feel like it goes to a place that you want it to go, if that makes sense. After the first one, like you want to see how they do with her, like as a, what is she, like 5? Oh no, I guess it's supposed to be only 3 years later, though.
Well, yeah,
she's older.
Yeah, she's way older than 3 in this movie. Like 3-year-olds don't talk like she does. I mean, do they say in the movie how old she is?
They do. I mean, she's definitely older than 3, but that wouldn't make sense. But she is.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, I just think it's fun. I think there's still some random stuff in it, but it's very like, I don't know. It's very late 80s, early 90s to me. Like Ted Danson, like wearing like him. Putting on prosthetics and being the old priest.
I thought you were talking about his hairpiece.
Well, yes, but like, you know what I'm talking about when he plays, he pretends to be a priest at the end. I think is so weird, but really, I think he's actually so funny as this priest character. It actually makes me think like, oh, no wonder Ted Danson's character is an actor. Like, this is the first glimpse that you get of like, oh, I bet he's a delightful actor. This Jack fellow.
He just is the priest supposed to be Jack as an old priest, or is it supposed to be? Is it like Mary Poppins with Dick Van Dyke, where he's actually? Like
they are planning a ruse because they're trying to stop the wedding.
Yes, and it's a good ruse.
It is. It's a great ruse. So Ted Danson gets in very elaborate prosthetics to play the priest of the wedding between Sylvia and the English douche. And his whole job is to stall the wedding. And so he's playing this befuddled, senile priest.
It's pretty funny.
And it's actually really funny. And then once, everything is revealed, he rips the prosthetics off his face in a very funny moment. It's actually probably the funniest bit he actually gets in both movies, really.
I agreed.
And a callback to Three Men and a Baby when he puts on the elaborate costume to play the pregnant woman for 2 seconds while he leaves the apartment building.
Exactly. Right. That's what I was thinking that too.
And in a classic sequel way, it ups the ante because now instead of just like a dress and some makeup, he's full.
I mean, you need to see it too.
Prosthetics.
It's yeah. I mean, I guess you're supposed to believe that he has access to that because he's an actor. I mean, it's a little crazy. You're like, where the hell did you get this stuff? Who put it on you? But you're like, it's a movie.
Excuse me. You are both very talented, well-to-do actors. You do not carry prosthetics with you whenever you travel.
It might be a passion project of his. I don't know.
Maybe, but it doesn't go. They don't explain it, but you kind of accept it.
Or do they make this plan before they get on the plane? And they say, "Okay, all right, guys, what do we need?" And he's like, "I got it. Let me grab my prosthetics and let's get on that plane." And like before, is this whole thing in motion?
It has to be. Right.
Well, because I don't think they realize they're going to stop the wedding until they get there. I don't know.
Right. But can we talk? I mean, I think the second one has a little bit more Oh, this is gonna sound so ridiculous, but it has a little bit more suspense. The second one.
More? I'm gonna be too stressed out then.
No, but it's suspense in a good in a good way. It's not. There's no drugs.
It has more of a. It has I think by suspense you mean plot.
Plot, yeah, sure. That is what I mean. I guess. Yes. Yes.
The first one has almost no plot at all. Once you take the heroin subplot out of it, basically it's like these guys learning to become dads. And by the way, that's the other thing about the 3 Men and a Baby. They learn how to like take care of a baby pretty friggin' quickly.
They do.
Like these guys, like the whole premise is how like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. But within like 3 weeks, they like have most of this nailed. They've got the bottles and all this shit figured out. Like, which was kind of the thing I was a little insulted by as a parent. I was like, oh yeah, okay, any idiot can figure this shit out, apparently.
Now wait a minute.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I also think. Well, it's a sequel, so they up it a little, like in many ways, and I also think the sequel has, to use the word daffy. I feel like the sequel has like a few more like daffy characters. Like, what is that actress's name? She's wonderful. Do you know?
Yes, Fiona Shaw.
Brilliant.
Yes.
She's fantastic.
Okay, I want to hit a time cut real quick because I have to pee really bad.
Okay.
Yes.
Be right back, and then we'll get into her.
Okay, good. Fiona Shaw.
Right, I'm gonna look her up.
It's funny. I talked to Alex Wiseman a little bit about Little Lady.
Oh, this woman, Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God, she's Petunia.
She's in Little Lady. She's great.
Oh wow. Okay. So anyway,
No, I was talking to Alex Wiseman. He was like, "Oh, I loved Fiona Shaw. Like she was like a second mother to like me and Robin and like her whole family."
And now he's in Harry Potter.
Yes.
So crazy.
She's really funny in Little Lady, and she like tries to seduce Tom Selleck.
Steve's gonna love that. He's gonna be like, "Oh my God, Aunt Petunia."
Yes, he is, and she like does like some just daffy like seducing of Tom Selleck, and she's like runs the boarding school that they try to get Mary into.
Oh, okay.
And she helps Tom Selleck. She helps Tom Selleck realize that like Mary's new dad is like trying to send her to boarding school without Mary knowing, like behind her and Sylvia's back. And it's like, oh my God, you're trying to send Mary away. You're a terrible person.
Which reminds me of Parent Trap.
Yes. Oh, what happens in Parent Trap?
Well, at least in the Lindsay Lohan one, what's her face? What's her name? It's
Which
Vicky
one?
Original, and then in Vivian.
Uh-huh.
So like, the one he's gonna marry.
Yes.
She's like, we're gonna ship them off to boarding school, and like
exactly. That's what this new dad, who's like Sylvia's British director,
shipping those brats off to boarding school. Like,
yes, that's what this guy does. He's like already like signed, sealed, delivered, and Tom Selleck comes in and barges into the wedding. He's like, "Don't marry him. He's a liar." And like he has Fiona Shaw like in tow. They ride like a motorcycle like to get to the wedding on time. It's ridiculous, but really great.
I'm so excited.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. We were just discussing further plot points in Little Lady.
Excellent. Okay, so Fiona Shaw in this movie she is something. She is. So she plays the head of the boarding school that Mary is kind of being forced into taking by the British guy.
Mm-hmm.
But she is so thirsty in this movie.
She is thirsty. But who wouldn't be for Tom Selleck?
Well, honestly, I think she has the appropriate response that any middle-aged woman in that time period was going to have to Tom Selleck. And she's just, I mean, but she's also hamming it up. Like you're right, Pat, that it's just like the movie itself is a lot broader than the first one, and she just kind of typifies that because she is swinging for the fences and is so like,
that's a better word. It's much broader. Yes. And like she is swinging for the fences, but I mean, I'll buy it.
Yeah. Right. So it's because it's like we take things from the first movie and then we broaden it. Because like the first movie has that sweet scene of the three of them singing "Goodnight, Sweetheart" to Mary.
Yeah. Which
is great. But when we get to the second one, now it's rapping.
Oh.
And we get the bedtime rap from the three.
About that. Oh yes, now. What year did that movie?
This is 1990. So like America as a whole is just still kind of discovering rap. Like Midwest is not like, you know, we're just getting into like MC Hammer.
Very, very into MC Hammer in 1990 when I was 5. Very into MC Hammer.
Well, there you go. That makes sense then. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Right. You know, we're like a year or two away from like, you know, NWA and gangster rap kind of, you know, we're in that like not to say that makes this any better because it's still awkward as shit to watch Tom Selleck rapping.
Oh my God. I'm glad you mentioned that. I completely forgot about the rap. Yep.
I want to start a band called Tom Selleck Rapping.
I will join that band. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what I will do in it, but I will be in Tom Selleck's rapping.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's just kind of the theme of this movie is that we're just going to broaden everything and then we're going to put it in a new location, which is going to make it, you know, funnier or make it seem like more exotic. Like we have more money. I don't know what the budget of this movie was, but it had to have been higher than the $11 million they spent on the first one.
Yeah. I mean, they truly, they up the stakes in all levels. London, I mean, come on. Can't beat that.
Right. But they still kept like just that sitcom structure because it's still like this wedding is right out of any like 80s sitcom wedding you've ever seen.
God, yeah.
It's like, oh, we're gonna stop and start. No, we got to get there just in time to, you know, and which then leads to like the ultimate Sylvia impulsive decision, which is like, okay, I'm not gonna marry the douche, but I'm gonna marry Tom Selleck. And not only am I gonna marry Tom Selleck, I'm gonna marry him right now.
Right then.
Right then and there, in front of the people who presumably came to see the actual wedding. Which I love in the sense that they don't care about anything else but the main characters because presumably because it's in England, most of the people there are probably friends and relatives of the groom.
Yeah, and they just watch this fucking wedding.
Right.
This new wedding.
They just sit and watch it. They're like, you know, like imagine going like your buddy's getting married and like, hey, I really want you to be there. And you go and you buy a gift and you're sitting there and all this is dumped and some rando American just walks in and takes his spot.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
His mixer and his toaster oven.
Oh, it's so good.
So lit, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's so far-fetched and it's so dumb, but like you're just like, yes, of course they get married, of course. I love it. It's touching. It satisfies every part of me.
So funny. I'm on the Three Men and Little Lady Wikipedia right now, and it says that the final wedding scene in end credits is underscored with "Waiting for a Star to Fall" by Boy Meets Girl. I love that song, and I woke up with that song in my head like 2 mornings ago, which is really weird.
See,
it's fate. That movie,
See,
this movie lives in your soul, Tiff.
That's one of my favorite songs. I can't till the end of the movie.
oh, it's so good.
They don't. Yeah, this like you've got that song in this movie, and then we mentioned Miami Sound Machine, but there's also like the soundtrack to the first one also has Peter Cetera's got a song involved there. John Parr's got a song in the closing credits. Yeah, and then you close with Waiting for a Star to Fall in this one. It's like they if there's one thing they didn't skip out on, it was like the soundtrack, because these are all in this time period some pretty reputable hitters.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, both soundtracks I think are quality.
Yeah, both are, and you need it because both movies have those like fast ass montages where it's not just enough to show them doing stuff, but we're also gonna like put it in high speed.
Yeah,
And they're like, yeah, this is kind of boring, so let's just speed.
That's how I know
like,
that's
okay,
how the first movie starts. Is a montage of them moving really fast and like.
Oh, it's so.
This is gonna be wacky.
Spoiler alert! That's exactly how the second movie starts.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because we watched this. Donna and I watched these because we were able to find. We got the DVD through the local library, and it had both films. So we were able to watch them back to back.
Yes.
And you see clearly how the beats of the movie are almost one and the same.
Yeah.
But it's surprisingly, Donna was like, I think I actually do like the second one better. And
whoa.
Yeah, she's I don't not to throw her out on Front Street, but she's never going to listen to this, so it's okay. But I think part of it is, the second one actually has a bit of a plot to it, which the first one that doesn't involve heavy narcotics.
Okay, so the suspense is more of a will they, won't they? Don't let her do it, and
right, make it
right.
We got to make it to the chapel. All we have is this motorcycle.
That's
motorcycle.
Like to deal with.
Yeah, and of course, it ends with the climactic speech, which has a line that is so innocent sounding but so gross at the same time. Because he looks at Sylvia and he talks about how great she's like, and I love how you love Mary, and I love you, and I want to be with you, and I want to make Mary all over again with you. It's weirdly like G-rated and yet graphic at the same time.
And like, does he want to clone? He wants to clone. That's what he wants to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to make this one. I don't want another kid. I want that kid, but two of them.
Yes. I'm leaving my job as an architect and I'm becoming a biologist.
And so help me God, if it's a boy, we're leaving it on someone else's fucking doorstep.
Yeah. That would be a great end to the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No daughter of mine's gonna be a boy.
Well, and that's so you mentioned the trilogy. There has been talk of a third movie. Nothing has materialized as of yet.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
It is the time.
So
it is a time of remakes and reboots.
Right.
And I think if you're going to do it, now's the time.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the Full House rebooted.
Ooh.
Why shouldn't Three Men and a Baby or do a sequel? Actually, I shouldn't even say reboot. Fuller House is essentially a sequel.
Yeah.
Series. Yeah. Do a sequel. They had talked about Three Men and a Bride, where we watch Mary get married. But I think I could see that, but given how long it's been, I would think Three Men and a Grandbaby just seems like a layup at this point.
Oh, because how old is Robin Weissman now?
She's like 34.
Yeah.
I I think she's older. Yeah, she's like 34.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could go either way.
Perfect.
They could be like, okay, she can either be getting married or she can be, or both, probably, because it's a third one. So they got to.
We're gay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we're just
when she's gay. Yeah. Nice.
Yes,
hey, they're just paying off the progressive beats that were laid in the first one.
Yes, exactly. Very true.
So I think let's book this, people. Let's get. Although I don't know. I mean, Tom Selleck's politics aside, I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know how much of that he's signing off for. But
that's a good point.
If you were to recast it, let's say those three men aren't in it, and it's just new guys.
Okay, so we're gonna reboot.
Who would you recast it with?
I mean, you're just saying rebooting a remake of the original.
Or, let's say in the way full. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like a sequel, but with new guys, and let's say they are like in some way related to the original three, but they're like, or whatever.
Are they like all the sons of Steve Guttenberg? And
well, so here's what you could do if you're going to do the Fuller House model. You could say that Mary is now living with two of her friends, and a baby gets dropped off at their apartment.
Oh.
So now you gender swap,
sure.
like you did with Overboard.
Love it.
So now it's three women and a baby. So, so you could, what if Robin Weissman is available, she's obviously the centerpiece.
Yes, Robin.
Yeah. But then you could probably, I know at this point you probably get like Tiffany Haddish is one of them,
and like Aubrey Plaza.
Right, exactly. Oh, I would watch the shit out of that.
Yes, Robert Weissman, Tiffany Haddish, and Aubrey Plaza.
Congrats, Netflix. We just made you another $1 billion.
Wow, that's it. Yeah. That is it. That's truly it.
I would want to see like Jason Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know.
You just want to see Jason Bateman.
I just want to see Jason Bateman, basically, because I feel like that's up his alley.
Right. No,
it is up his alley.
Yeah, that's up his alley. I think that's a good Paul Rudd vehicle as well.
Yes.
I don't know if they can occupy the same space. They probably have the same. They'd probably have like the same. You could put like a Paul Rudd and like a Channing Tatum,
Okay.
And then but then you've got to get like the sensitive dude in there. I don't know. Somebody from get one of like the Stranger Things kids in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough.
Or he would. How you were talking about. They originally going to cast Danny Glover, Donald Glover in there.
Yes,
love. This is America.
That's not bad at all.
Oh, I know. I mean, you're not wrong in any of these combinations. But I would still. I mean, why not get like.
Oh, you cut out.
Together and do. I think you could. I think the time is there at some point. Who knows? They'll figure it out. But so a couple of other things that we I mentioned. Okay, so I mentioned like Hollywood trends. So this is like the first of like a stream full of baby movies that come out. Like this movie like opens the floodgates. Like, well, baby movies are cool. So like you get this. And then you get Baby Boom in 1987. You get She's Having a Baby in 1980. And the Look Who's Talking.
Love it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which is then like, Look Who's Talking was like, well, what if the baby talked? And we'll throw that out there.
Wow. Yeah.
So, okay, we've danced around it enough. Let's talk about the thing that most people talk about when they talk about Three Men and a Baby.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that is The Ghost.
Okay. I have a funny, very distinct memory that I would like to share about The Ghost.
Please, the floor is yours.
I I was, well, I guess the movie came out in 87. My sister is 8 years older than me, and I was probably 3. I was still in a crib. I climbed out of my crib. My sister was having a slumber party. So it was probably like 11-year-olds, like all in our living room. It's like one of my earliest memories. I couldn't have been in the crib. The 3-year-olds aren't in cribs, are they? Anyway, what?
Yeah, depending on the size, sure.
Yeah, sure. Anywho, I just remember going downstairs and like being the center of attention because I was 3 and watching with about 10, 11-year-olds that scene, and they watched it over and over again, like screaming and being like, "Oh my God, what is that? Ah!" And I was like, I mean, I was 3, so I was just like, but I think even as a 3-year-old, I was like, that's a cardboard cutout. It's not a ghost. Y'all are immature. Where are my pancakes? That's my story. Sorry, Lou.
I didn't know about this urban legend until you told me about it, Lou. So, and then when I was watching the movie, I remember the one scene where there was clearly a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson.
Yeah.
When people said no, because then there was a point where it was more obscured, wasn't it? Because there was a point when I saw it clearly.
Yeah, it happens about an hour into the film. The scene where Jack, Ted Danson's mother, comes to visit.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk through the apartment together. And as they're walking through, in the background, in one of the windows of this, multi-million-dollar duplex or whatever, there's a shadow. And for years, people have stood by the idea that this was a ghost, and that the urban legend was that this was the ghost of a little boy who died in the apartment in which the film was shot.
I wish I were one of the little shits who like made up something like that and spread it before the days of the internet.
Yeah.
That's a feat.
It is. You'd be sitting in a bar one day and you say, "Hey, you know that 3 Men and a Baby ghost rumor? That was me."
I started that. Can you believe that's a? I mean, it's
people that shit.
It is his. It is. I mean, I want to believe it because that's kind of fun. But like, it's the cardboard cutout of Ted Danson.
It is. And to defend this, keep in mind, this is the late '80s, early '90s. So, like, if you had a big screen TV at your house, it was probably like a 21-incher at best. You know, most people, you're watching these on like 13 or 17-inch screens. They're not high def. You're watching like it on VHS or on Showtime or whatever. So like the picture quality is not great. So you could see, maybe I could see where it's like, oh yeah, it kind of, but the funny thing is you can see why it doesn't look always like a cardboard cutout, but I love how people just jump to ghost.
Yeah. It is like a little creepy, like that it's like it's like in the background, they don't address it, editing didn't fix it. Like, no, it's like when you first see it, it's like, oh, it's a little creepy. But if you really look at it, you're like, oh, that's just a cardboard cutout.
Now here's a question I have. What was going on at that? Like, was there something that you think in the zeitgeist, second time I said that word today, that was influencing people thinking that would be like, were horror film, like, was there something in the horror films that would have like put that in people's brains?
Well,
was there going on in the news? Like,
there were, I mean, 80s had a lot of like urban legends like that. Like there was always that legend about like the Mikey, the Life cereal kid, died from eating Pop Rocks.
I did not know.
You didn't? Oh, yeah. Mikey ate Pop Rocks and drank soda, and his stomach exploded, and that's how he died. No, it's just 80s kids were dumb.
and
Yeah.
bored.
That's all really this boils down to, is that if you grew up like these things, and because we didn't have the internet to to fact check this, we couldn't go to Snopes and be like, yep, Mikey's alive and well, he's got 3 kids and he's a tax accountant. It's just
Right.
you could look at stuff, and maybe also there was like this is kind of the downer, but like there was like the Poltergeist curse where like right around that time, like a year later, the little girl from Poltergeist died mysteriously. She like had that sudden illness, and then one of the other actresses from the film died mysteriously. And so there was, in pop culture at the time, there were kind of like these little urban myths that went around. And so there was also that like there's also like the Wizard of Oz urban legend.
I was thinking of that one. That's the one I was thinking of.
Right. Of the Munchkin hanging himself in the Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know if it's the time period or just the fact that we can't fact check shit, or that we don't have you didn't have HD TVs to look and be like, oh yeah, that's clearly Ted Danson's cardboard cutout. But
I was also so into that scene that I didn't even notice it. So people must have been watching this movie a lot.
Well, they were dialed in. You were watching the pathos of Jack's character as he was struggling with the stress of raising a child.
And there was like
you were focused on the right thing.
There was like a dozen, in 1988, there was like a dozen 12-year-olds, my sister included, that like watched it over and over again at a slumber party.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is I think this was one of those movies everybody saw like at a slumber party or at somebody's house, because it was the one thing like your parents could rent and know like the other parents wouldn't get mad at.
Right.
Yes. It's like, it's like, oh, they're watching 3 Men and a Baby. No one. So, okay. Which that leads me to the only other thing about the 80s-ness of these movies is that the child care in this film is the other thing that really struck me when we watched it, because the baby, Mary, like, there's no way she doesn't pass any modern day safety standards. She's like in this crib with like 8 blankets, and then the heroin dealers are going to take her, and they're debating about whether they put her in the trunk or the back seat of this like 2-seater. Like there's a lot of shoddy parenting, I guess, is what I'm getting at here. But and that was the other thing. That was the other thing that struck Donna. She was like, "Oh my God, do you see all the blankets in that crib? Haven't they heard of SIDS?" Like, no.
Yeah, see, I don't even think about that. Just because it's like, of course, Donna would think about that. She's a mother. Like, I didn't even think about it. Still don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's 1987. No one was thinking about it.
Right, but what I did think too was, you think it's hard in 1987? Fast forward to 2017, like he was just like, which formula do I choose? And now it's literally like, I feel like the baby industry now is, I couldn't even imagine trying to navigate it now and having all these people coming at you and being like, how to breastfeed, and all the random things that people have now, and all the different, like, I know somebody with 6 or 7 strollers, like,
right.
Like,
oof.
I love that, compared to now, like, just having to choose between a couple different formulas.
Right, like, exactly. Which formula do I? And it's like, they're just so perplexed by it.
No, it's like, which app do I use to like measure the time between her breathing and her like VO2 I don't know. Like,
yeah.
Right. Her fontanelle is not closing the way that it should. Should I see someone about this?
Exactly.
Yeah. You're right. It's like the concerns of parents, and it's that which car, the car seat's been recalled, and I'm like, 87 was like, car seat, throw in the fucking trunk. We don't care. But okay. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that we missed, or anything that that stuck out to either one of you? Tiff, let's start with you.
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at my notes. I said everything. My notes were Leonard Nimoy film, Bad Boys, Gloria Estefan. They all look like my dad. French source material. Lots of Gloria Estefan in this. And then Steve's quote of, I remember watching this and thinking this is the height of manliness. We covered all my notes.
Perfect. All right. Pat, how about you?
Oh goodness, the only thing that that we didn't talk about, it's not really important, but do you happen to recall the Daffy Butler in 3 Men and a Little Lady? That character, the one that can't hear, what is his
Oh yes, the one that shows up without his pants on for no apparent reason.
Yes.
The water closet.
Yes. He just was a standout to me, so I just felt like he should get a shout out for 3 Men and a Little Lady. I don't know who he is, but
yeah, I don't know who he is either. I know that the guy
that old, deaf, confused, that. It was such an archetype. I feel like it still is, confused elderly person.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just somebody very memorable to me in 3 Men and a Little Lady. So I just wanted to give that character a shout out.
Patrick, you are destined to play those roles in.
I am. That's probably why I connect to them so much.
Okay, so yeah, why don't itself kind of, we mentioned at the beginning how this is kind of a punchline, but you could make a musical out of this movie very easily.
Yes.
Yep, you could. Yeah, I mean, yes.
Well, the only thing is, you can't really have a real baby.
Yeah.
You could do 3 Men and a Little Lady. 3 Men and a Baby would be tricky. I did see the Bam's Visit last week, and they have a newborn baby, and whatever the fake baby they used looked really real, but it was only for a few seconds. So trying to use that, of course, unless they make it into very abstract, they just put the whole thing out of realism, and it's just the baby becomes just I don't know, just a sack.
We'll get it back in touch with its French roots and just make the whole thing very, abstract. Yeah.
I also wanted to mention, I also think the mothers are very good. I think Sylvia's mom in part 2 is very good. I don't know that actress's name. I'm sorry. Also, a shout out to Celeste Holm in 3 Men and a Baby, who plays Jack's mom.
What else is she in?
Well, Celeste Holm was, I believe, the original Ada Wanny in Oklahoma on Broadway.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Yes. Fun gay fact.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, I don't think we're gonna top that. So, the only other casting note that I had was the vicar that is supposed to be officiating the wedding that gets rerouted by Steve Guttenberg, is played by Jonathan Lynn, who is actually more well known as a director than an actor. He directed My Cousin Vinny, and he directed Clue.
Really?
So he did. He directed a couple of other things, but those are the ones that I, had a personal fondness for. But yeah, so yeah, there's all these little, that's the funny thing. And we, a couple of different shows, in England, get some British actors who would give this a little bit, who could sell this a little bit more, because all of them are game. Fiona Shaw's game, and Jonathan Lynn's game, and all, it's just, it's the second one. I think if you haven't watched it, go back and check it out. Fun stuff. I particularly recommend it paired with the first one.
Yes.
But okay, so that our guilt meter for the Three Men and a Baby franchise on a scale of 1 to 5 shame spirals. 1 being I love this movie, everybody needs to see these movies. To 5 being I either don't like this movie, or if I do, I'm not telling anybody about it. Let's look at the franchise in totality. If you want to parse them one movie versus the other, that's fine. Patrick.
So 10 would be like I'm not telling anyone.
5. 1 to 5.
A 5. Oh, so just 1 to 5. That's it? Okay. Oh wait, yeah, I knew
that's
that.
It.
I mean, I would say I'm going to make it a 3. Maybe a 2.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
First one?
Oh.
Oh God. But you want it on the franchise.
Either one. As a whole or separately.
I'm gonna go with franchise 2.
Okay. All right. Tiffany, how about you?
I've only seen the first. Can't wait. I'm going to watch the second one as soon as my boyfriend gets home, so I'm really excited. I'm gonna give it a 3. 3 lean 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's about right, because I don't know if you've never seen these movies if there's a great reason to see them for the first time.
Yeah.
But if you've seen them in a while, I think you would be surprised at how well they've aged. Actually, I don't think they're. I think they've aged better than a lot of '80s movies have, and so it's one of the creepy overtones that some of previous '80s movies have, where it's not like, oh, that doesn't. So I would say, and to be fair, I don't know if there's any. I don't know if I would ever recommend Three Men and a Little Lady to anybody who's never seen the first one. I think it's kind of a package. It's a package.
You need to see the first one. Yeah.
That said, I do find it. Much like the first one, I thought it aged a lot better than I was expecting it to. And I had fun watching, kind of going back and revisiting those. So yeah, I would say anybody who's seen these movies, go back to see what the 80s really looked like. Pretty crystallized, it's pure cut 80s. Without a lot of grossness. But okay, so that's going to do it for the Three Men and a Baby franchise. Thank you for joining us. And we got a lot of stuff coming up in the month of June and July. We are in the midst of summer movie season. We just released the full disclosure on Incredibles 2. Next week, we're going to have on Jurassic World, Hidden Kingdom. We're also, or Fallen Kingdom, excuse me. We're also going to have next month's Guilty Pleasures, which we talked about at the top of the episode. And we've just got a lot of stuff coming out. So in order to keep on top of all of it, please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. However you're listening to this, please make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share. Make sure people hear about this stuff so we can keep doing, talking about you can follow us on Twitter at Front Row Reviews. You can follow me personally at The Fake Lou Hair. And you can find on our Facebook page where our poll for the July episode is up. You can also go to our website. Currently, it still stands, thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. We're in the midst of changing that, and at some point, go there, you might as always, you can find us on YouTube and any place where there's digital media, Instagram, anywhere you want to go. The Front Row Network is there for all your movie watching needs. So thank you for listening to us. Tiffany, I know plugs at the beginning, but where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Fanny T or at Furniture, and Twitter at Fanny T, but I'm not really on Twitter all that much. So Instagram is the place for me.
All right. Patrick, do you have any social media you want to plug?
I mean, no. I mean, I'm on Instagram, but like, I don't know if I'm particularly interesting on Instagram. I'm really not. But Patty T327, PADDY. Patty T327. If you want some mildly entertaining stuff twice a month.
Exactly. Yeah. And I did just buy with one click on Amazon the Gutenberg Bible, a memoir. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'm sure that I'll tell you about it.
Do some reading.
But we need some passages highlighted.
I will.
That's where.
I also bought the last one in stock. So.
Wow.
So okay, quick game. Price is Right. I'm gonna bid on the Gutenberg Bible. I'm gonna say you paid.
Oof.
Is it hardcover or paperback?
It's hardcover.
I'm gonna say $7.99.
No,
I'm gonna say $11.99.
Patrick was closer. It was.
Ooh.
Well, with shipping, it was like $16.27.
Okay, fair.
I think it was $12.99.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Steve.
Look at that.
Hardcover.
Steve,
Last
if you
one. You can buy it.
Steve, if
You
you're
can buy it used for about $7.99.
okay. Well, hey, buy that new. It goes right to the author. There, you buy that. You buy that shit used. You don't know where it's going.
You don't want to use
Okay.
Gutenberg Bible.
No. Exactly.
Gutenberg Bible. All right. So that's going to do it for us. So for all of us here at the Front Row Network, I'm Lou Hare.
I'm Patrick Tierney. Sorry, we weren't ready.
That's fine. We'll try it again. So for all of us at the Front Row Network, I'm Lou Hare.
I'm Patrick Tierney.
And I'm Tiffany Topol.
And as always, we'll see you in the front row. Good night, sweetheart. It's time to go.
Oh, that is good. That is a good end.